Okay, I made it to work, but I wanted to cover one more thing. On the Mustangs and some of the trucks and stuff where people have found that the rear cameras aren't working. Um, these cameras from Ford, as well as all the other manufacturers, they're not very good, guys. Let's not even play games and try to make it out to be more than what it is. They're not. They're terrible. When it comes to camera technology and stuff in general, unless you're like Tesla or something like that, people don't put that kind of money in the systems. And then, depending on the type of system that it is, whether it's a high voltage system or a low voltage system, like on some of the hybrids and stuff, there's technology involved there that we don't quite understand like the manufacturer does, or maybe we do. I can't speak for everybody, but what I can say is, say you found some broken wires. A gentleman last night, you can see in the comment section in one of my videos, asked a question about his Mustang. He said, I bought a 15 Mustang. I found the wiring problem that you were talking about. The previous owner kind of did the repairs and they did a shoddy job fixing it. So I went ahead and just ordered the whole wire section, installed it, put a new camera and stuff in. My camera's still not working. Well, you can't just install a camera on these vehicles now and expect it to work. You have to go into IDS if it's like a previous, I want to say, some of the 2020s operate on the IDS system. Some of them operate on the FDRS system. I wish they would have just went along and said anything 2020 needs to be FDRS. Because originally that's what they said. They said these are going to be the new communicating systems. You're going to have the FDRS program to actually talk to these. But then we're finding that's not actually the case. We have middle 2020 production vehicles that are still using the IDS system. And you're like, well, that's not what you said. I mean, it's kind of confusing. Again, that's the nature of the beast. That's how these guys put these vehicles out, and they try to do the best they can to get them all on board, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Just because you fixed the harness and there's no fuse issue and it's getting power and ground back there and the comm wires are fine, doesn't mean that because you put a new camera in, the vehicle knows. It needs to be what is a line-in configuration. It needs to be programmed. That vehicle needs to see, okay, look for this new camera and let's sync it. Just because you had an old camera and then put the same model camera back in there doesn't mean that it's going to work. It needs to know that you are telling it to go look for a new good camera, and then it pops on, okay, we're good. I see the camera, everything's functioning. Now let's take it a step further than that. We know that on these big radio face systems and stuff, the 5-inch, the 4-inch screens and above, some of them up to 18-inch now, you're not going to be able to just hook a camera up. And let's say it does want to work. Let's say you got lucky and for some reason it is working. If you have a bad front control interface module, that camera system, or maybe you've got an accessory protocol interface module, the module that controls what goes to that front module that you're looking at, the radio system, if there's a fault with that and it doesn't like, or there's some kind of communication error, what's going on behind you, it's not actually going to show you that camera. It's going to still say fault with a yellow warning in the center of the screen that'll say something about take it to your local dealer or take it to your dealer and have them look at it, because there's also other faults. So just because the camera's not working and just because you found a previous problem and fixed it, which is the right thing to do, doesn't mean your camera's going to come on board. If there's an issue with what's actually displaying the message from the camera, there could be a compounding problem there. So I wish it was that easy for me to come on these videos sometimes and just give you guys all the answers for everything. Unfortunately, it's not. You did the right thing and put a camera in it. You did the right thing and fixed all the wiring and stuff, put new wiring in it. But that doesn't mean there's another problem. You have to initialize that camera. Even if you initialize that camera, that doesn't mean that it's going to display, because there could be fault messages in that front control interface module and that accessory protocol interface module. And unfortunately, Ford doesn't make it to where you can just throw those two modules at it, which are very expensive. That doesn't mean it's going to work. And if you find a Ford camera for, one person told me like $50 or something like that, chances are, I mean, I can't talk bad about what you bought. You might have found a good camera. But when I sell a camera from the dealer, mind you, there's a huge markup from the dealer. That camera might be a $225, $250 camera, but they turn around and sell it for $450. And you're telling me that you found one online for $50? I question the integrity of that camera to begin with. chances are that camera is probably more like $175 to $200 brand new, and you might be able to find that wholesale somewhere. But to say I found this camera for 50 bucks and I installed it, more power to you. You know, hey, good luck. But chances are it's probably not a very good camera. But even when you put that in, it still has to be initialized. It still has to be configured to that vehicle to let that vehicle know the previous fault is gone, reconfigure to a new camera, and let's communicate. Let's look and see what's going on behind us. So any questions, please leave it below and I'll try to help you. I wanted to do one video where I cover multiple things on the camera system, the vision system, front and rear. Goes the same with the front. In the back, it'll be LIN initialization. In the front, it will be LIN IMPB, B meaning secondary camera up front, initialization. Those two have to be done when new cameras are installed, or else the camera will not work. You might get lucky and it worked, but I haven't seen one yet where I didn't have to go into the computer using IDS or FDRS, which not everybody has access to, and initialize those cameras, especially if it's a brand new vehicle. I haven't seen another shop with FDRS unless it's a really high-end specialty shop that pays for that software, which I don't even think Ford has released to yet. Yeah, I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, again, leave in the comment box and I'll try to help you the best I can. Anybody with questions, you want me to look up VIN-specific stuff, email me. Ask for my email and I'll give it to you, and then I'll look up VIN-specific stuff for you. I have no problem doing that. You guys know that I go out of my way for people all the time. Sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night, people asking me stuff, and I start writing down what they're asking, write their VIN number down, and then the next day when I go to work, I try to remember with everything else that's going on to jump on the computer and get them their information within a timely manner. I've done that. Many people here can attest to it. But there's a very specific way these things have to get done. You're not just going to slap them together and they work anymore. It's like 2013, 2014, all that went away. Most of it has to be computer programmed, so the vehicle turns the faults off for that system and says, okay, let's look at what's there now that's supposed to be fixed before we can let it work. Just like with the turn signals and stuff. You got a bulb that blows, well, the body control module knows there's a fault with that bulb or there's something wrong with that circuit. It will shut the circuit down. You can change the bulb and fix everything, and you're like, oh, why is it not working? I changed the bulb, it was blown. You have to go into the computer and clear that code for that system so the body control module knows to reactivate that circuit to let that item work. It's really terrible what they did. So that's why one of those little pocket scanners come in handy as well. That's why I tell people, really make sure you get like a $50, $60 scanner. Maybe find one of the tool trucks that's at one of the dealerships or something, like on a specific day. Go into a dealership and say, hey, when does your Mac guy show up? When does your Snap-on guy show up? And he'll say, well, on a Friday, usually about 11 to 12 o'clock. Okay, fine, I'll be back then. And find the guy in the parking lot. He'll sell it directly to you. He doesn't have a problem doing that. And you can get them on Amazon. You can get them at your parts stores. These are just little tidbits and little cookies that I'm throwing you guys for information that I hope one day will help. Thank you, guys.